Well, the ANC's 55th elective national conference takes place at NASREC, and this will see the ANC reflect on the achievements and failures of the past 5 years and elect new leadership that can steer the party in the right direction. But it also comes at a time when the party is experiencing challenges and worsening disunity. For a preview, we're now joined by Dr Alex Mashilo, who's the spokesperson for the South African Communist Party, the ANC's tripartite alliance partner. Thanks so much indeed for joining us, Dr Mashilo. Always good to talk to you. The President has called this a watershed moment for the ANC. Is that how you view it as the SACP as well?
Indeed, it is an important moment for the ANC. The President spoke about unwanted tendencies that have a destructive effect on the African National Congress and inhibit its capacity to unite itself and to unite the people of South Africa. He emphasized the need for renewal and programs that can help the ANC unite itself and unite the people of South Africa. To that extent, the President is absolutely correct.
Dr Mashilo, when we hear words like renewal and unity, I can count on my hands the number of times we've heard this message, conference after conference, and people will start to say, but we've heard all of this before, why should we believe things will change? And what we're seeing in the last few days are things that we haven't seen in quite a while, where senior figures in the party are shouting against each other. And so when you talk about renewal and unity, it's almost hard to see how that can happen.
Yeah, it is very difficult. We are talking about renewal and unity not in the space, but here on earth, where there is resistance to change, where change affects how others survive and benefit themselves from the status quo. So it is not going to be a simple process, which is why indeed you are absolutely correct yourself when you say you can count the times when not only the ANC, but even ourselves, if I may add, we emphasize the need for renewal and unity. This is because we are talking about a contested process. Remember that there are others who want the movement to go back. Others do not want the movement to make progress from where it is because of the threat that renewal and unity pose to their vested interests, and others want progress to advance. So it is not going to come easy. The reality is that we are talking about a contested process. What will, at the end of the day, make a difference is if those who stand for renewal and unity in practice make more impact than those who are opposed to renewal and unity. That will result in a movement forward, and we will begin to see progress.
By its nature, an elective conference is quite combative. It's quite divisive sometimes. And I guess the fear might be that, as you've started to describe there, that there will be more about individuals and victory rather than the movement in general. Could this be an undoing of this conference?
Yes, if you look at how the discourse around conferences has changed over time, particularly conferences of organizations that led liberation struggles, the very idea of an elective conference bears an important purpose or objective of these conferences. you would have noticed that in the past months, there has been more emphasis, or put differently, preferences on who should lead have been more dominant than the actual policy content and direction that should be considered to change the material lives of the people for the better. That is a serious problem. All the delegates attending the ANC conference must appreciate that they are not going to an elective conference. They are going to a conference that will determine policy content and direction, and based on that, elect the leadership to take the program forward. But if you put the cart before the horse, you are just going to produce the status quo. You are going to talk an elective conference or an election of leaders devoid of policy content and program. And this is how these conferences have come to be looked at. And the ANC has to work very hard to change that perception.
Let's look through the lens of the South African Communist Party, and you'll be watching events unfold. I wonder if your own view of the party and how your relationship with the party might be influenced by what happens over the next 5 days.
There is no doubt, Peter, there will be influences from what will happen over the next few days. The SACP has been campaigning for the government of the Republic of South Africa to adopt a policy change. This is because, if I were to give an example, the lowest unemployment rate in our democratic dispensation was in 1995. That was around 16.5%. In 1996, after the government adopted the neoliberal policy of GEAR, growth, employment and redistribution in full, unemployment rose to crisis high levels of above 20%. Since that time, meaning since the government adopted GEAR in 1996, unemployment has been fluctuating and worsening above 20%. And the SACP has been saying, look, we are faced with a reality where we need to acknowledge there is a glaring policy failure. Not only is the policy trajectory followed since 1996 unable to overcome the persistently high and worsening level of unemployment, but also poverty and inequality. And we have said renewal is not a narrow organizational consideration, but must embrace broader economic and political changes, including change in policy direction. So if the conference will not come up with a change in policy direction, then there will be obviously a discussion within the alliance partners on how we are going to proceed with the status quo, because insofar as the SACP is concerned, the status quo is unacceptable. Delegates can differ on who they elect, but for so long as they do not pay attention to the policy content and direction question, the status quo will remain, and the majority of the people of South Africa will, bit by bit, as we have seen with the 2021 local government elections and the other elections going back, stay home and not vote to support the ANC, and the ANC itself will be affected. As things stand right now, the ANC is not leading the government in the capital city, Tshwane. It is not leading the government in the economic hub of South Africa, Johannesburg. It is not leading the government in the manufacturing hub of South Africa, Ekurhuleni. It is leading through a coalition in another important economic center, eThekwini. It is not leading in the Cape Town, which is an important economic center. So the delegates have to ask hard questions about where this movement of a decline in the electoral performance of the ANC is heading to. So if you do not make policy changes, no matter who you elect, you are going to face the same situation. As people judge your performance, not by what you are saying, but by changes in their material conditions, their living conditions.
All right, and perhaps finally, as we start to wrap up, you've given us a clue in terms of policy shifts that you're looking for. Is there anything else that you would like to see coming out of this conference?
Definitely. One of the major problems we have faced, in addition to policy failure, is the problem of corruption, state capture, and looting. And that has widened to include the destruction of public infrastructure. It will be a sad day if a corrupt leader or if a set of corrupt leaders will emerge from this conference. That will make relations with alliance partners and confidence from the South Africans very difficult for the ANC to attract. We just hope that the ANC will emerge with a correct set of leaders who will inspire confidence, not only in the alliance, but also from the population at large.
Dr. Alex Mashilo, we're going to leave it there for the time being. Thank you so much indeed for sharing your thoughts with us ahead of this very important conference. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much.